Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something a little different. Instead of our usual deep dive into, say, a complex policy or a scientific paper, we're going to tell you some stories. These aren't just any stories, though. These are real accounts from people who went into the wilderness looking for, peace and quiet.
Right, solitude.
Exactly. Only to find themselves in these really unsettling, sometimes completely inexplicable situations. So our mission today is really to explore these narratives. We've gathered these firsthand accounts, and as we tell them, we'll try to pull out the core unsettling elements, maybe spot some patterns.
Yeah, and maybe even find some vital lessons about instinct and survival mixed in there.
That's the goal. We want to help you understand what makes these experiences so profoundly disturbing, and what really stands out beyond just, a spooky campfire tale.
Well, what's really fascinating here is how the wilderness, which we often think of as a refuge, right? A place of serenity.
Yeah, totally.
It can just suddenly become this stage for our deepest fears. These stories, they kind of strip away the comfort of civilization, expose this raw, almost primal vulnerability.
Absolutely. Okay, let's dive into the first one. This happened back in 2016. It involves a solo camper, someone who really loved the wilderness, went out often.
Oh.
He was looking for alone time in these flat, dense woods south of his town.
Okay.
Hiked about 2 hours in, found a nice secluded spot, maybe not even an official campsite, Set up his camp, got the fire going, had some trail mix, just the usual peaceful scene, birds chirping, all that. Then, as dusk settled in, the forest did that thing. It went from alive with sound to almost eerily silent.
That typical shift, yeah.
Right. But then, maybe 25 minutes after it got properly dark, this strange sound broke the quiet.
Music
out there.
Yeah, distant, old classical music, like from an antique record player or something. And it was on this continuous loop, the same bit of music over and over. Okay, that's immediately weird. The relentless, unchanging nature of it, that signals something off right away. It's not just some other camper playing tunes.
Exactly.
It's a pattern. It feels deliberate.
Totally. And that's what got to him. He listened for about half an hour, just confirming it was the same song repeating. He felt this deep sense of wrongness, not just annoyance. So he decides to investigate, grabs his flashlight, that's all he has, and starts walking towards the sound. He said he could feel the goosebumps rising as the music got louder.
I bet.
He gets within maybe 30 or 40 feet, close enough to see clearly with the flashlight beam, but there's no campfire, no tent, no light, no people.
Nothing.
Except, propped up behind a tree, this giant old-school speaker. Like something from the early 2000s just sitting there?
Wow. Just the speaker itself.
Yeah. He finds the power button, turns it off, and suddenly the forest is plunged back into this really stark, heavy silence. Almost worse than the music.
Right, because now the lack of sound is noticeable.
Exactly. He hurries back to his campsite, feeling relieved, but also still that feeling wouldn't go away. And then it hits him why. He remembers his self-defense stuff. Looks for his pocket knife, his pepper spray. Gone. Then he checks for his matches, his cooking utensils. Also gone.
Oh,
Someone was there while he was investigating the music.
So the music was a distraction. A lure.
Seems like it. He didn't waste a second. Started packing up whatever gear was left. And then he heard it again. The music. Playing from the darkness. Closer this time. And definitely not from where he'd found and turned off that speaker.
Okay, this is where it escalates, isn't it? It's sheer psychological torment at this point.
Absolutely. It wasn't about stealing his stuff. It was a game.
A calculated, predatory engagement. The initial music lures him away. They take his items to show control. Then the music starts again. Closer. It's terrifying.
He didn't stick around to figure it out. He just ran, sprinting down the trail in the dark. About 15 minutes down the path, far from the music now, he sees something on the trail ahead. All his missing items, his knife, pepper spray, matches, utensils, laid out perfectly in a neat line right there on the dirt path.
Oh, that's just cruel. Like a taunt.
Totally. But before he could even process it or think about grabbing them, he heard a flurry of footsteps rushing up right behind him.
Jeez.
He just bolted, didn't look back, left the item, sprinted hard for like 10 minutes, then managed to jog, didn't stop until he hit the road and felt safe.
Wow. The placement of the items, the timing of the footsteps. Such a disturbing cat and mouse game. It wasn't about preventing escape. It was about the chase, the fear, and leaving the items. It's almost like saying, I could have hurt you, but I chose to play this game instead. Chilling. He absolutely did the right thing running. Abandoning gear is nothing compared to personal safety in a situation like that.
Definitely. Okay, let's move on to our second story. This one takes place up in Alaska, north of Fairbanks, near the White Mountains.
Right, remote area.
Very. A solo camper, again, he'd been out for 2 days, just enjoying his trip. Making a meal by his campfire around noon, suddenly, a man appears at his campsite.
Just appears.
Yeah, startled him. He hadn't seen anyone else, hadn't heard him approach. The man looked like a regular camper, though, and just asked if he knew where a public cabin was nearby.
Okay, plausible enough, I guess.
Our camper knew there were some shelters, pointed him towards a thin path leading off into the forest. The man thanked him, seemed normal, and left. Fast forward several hours. It's late, maybe 9 or 10 p.m. Dark. The same man returns to the campsite.
Oh boy, okay.
He claims he couldn't find the trail or the cabin, and he wants our camper to lead him there now.
That feels off. Why come back so much later?
Exactly what the camper thought. Why was he gone for hours if he supposedly got lost right away?
But the man laid on this guilt trip, as the camper put it. Said he had no tent. He was really counting on that shelter.
The manipulation, playing on empathy.
Right. So despite this really bad gut feeling, the camper agreed. It was supposed to be just a 10-minute walk. Classic technique. Using social pressure or guilt to override someone's intuition. That gut feeling is usually right.
So they start walking. The camper finds the trail easily. And almost immediately, he can see the cabin in the distance. It's dilapidated, clearly abandoned, broken windows, moldy wood.
So the guy definitely could not have missed it earlier.
No way. They walk a bit closer. Instead of saying thanks, the man just stops and says, flatly, "This wasn't the right cabin."
Whoa.
The camper turns around. The man is standing about 10 feet away, holding a knife.
Oh, God.
His face was stiff, the camper said, eyes just dead. And in this monotone, completely emotionless voice, he just ordered the camper to go inside the abandoned cabin.
Terrifying. Pure adrenaline moment.
Totally. So camper just dropped his bag, the one with all his essentials, and ran. Flat out sprinted away.
Did the man chase him?
Weirdly, no. The camper glanced back, and the man was just standing there, staring, still holding the knife.
That's unnerving in itself. Suggests the cabin was the goal, maybe?
Maybe. The camper hid in the woods for a good 30 minutes, heart pounding. Then he cautiously made his way back towards where the man had been. The man was gone.
Okay.
But so was the camper's bag, the one he dropped. With his phone, wallet, keys, everything.
Right, so now he's stranded, essentially.
Pretty much. He starts the trek back to his own campsite, dread just building and building, and then he sees it.
What now?
His campfire. It should have died down hours ago, but it was burning brightly. His tent was still standing. And right there, in the middle of his campsite, was his bag.
The bag the man took. Just sitting there.
Yeah, like an invitation. A trap.
That is textbook psychological manipulation. The lure. Bring him back to a place the perpetrator now controls. The relit fire, the return bag. It's all designed to exploit his need for his belongings and warmth.
And just as he's standing there about to maybe grab the bag, the man appears, just walks casually out from behind the campfire, starts tossing sticks into it, humming to himself like he was just waiting for him.
Oh, chillin'. Just calmly waiting.
The camper didn't hesitate this time either. Turned immediately and ran again. Didn't go back for anything. Hiked through the dark for hours until he finally reached the main road.
Smart move. Absolutely the right call.
He flagged down a car, got help, called the police. They went back the next morning with rangers.
Find anything.
Nothing, no trace of the man. Interestingly, the stones of his fire ring had been moved, almost like someone tried to erase the fact the campsite was ever there. And the cabin, officially confirmed as discontinued, basically abandoned and unused.
Wow. The planning involved, moving the stones, the lure with the bag, it's deeply disturbing. You have to wonder what the ultimate goal was with that cabin.
Yeah, the camper said he felt like he was one bad decision away from never leaving those woods. Makes you shiver. Okay, our last story. This one is very recent, apparently happened just a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
A backpacker on a 2-day trip in northeastern Wyoming experienced Guy, just a routine hike he'd done before. After hiking for a few hours, he stops for a snack break, sits down, enjoys the view, looks up, and there's a man standing off the trail, just staring at him.
Just staring.
Yeah. When the backpacker made eye contact, the man lifted his hand and gave this really strange, almost robotic wave, very unnatural.
Huh. That's immediately unsettling, isn't it? The stare, the weird gesture. It's subtle, but it puts you on edge.
For sure. The backpacker felt unnerved, packed up quickly, and kept hiking. Later, he reaches a designated campsite. He wasn't planning to stay there, just passing through, but decided to stop and make a bigger meal, cook some freeze-dried food.
Right.
As he's waiting for the water to boil, who shows up? The same man.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. And this time he's described as aggressively friendly, asking lots of questions, getting a bit too close. And then, the really weird part, he tries to hand the backpacker a protein bar.
Okay.
An already open protein bar, and he was apparently really pushy about it, trying to insist the backpacker take it.
Whoa, no way. An open food item from a stranger in the woods? That's a huge red flag. Wow. Major boundary testing, or worse.
Definitely. The backpacker refused, obviously. Then the man says he's planning to stay at that campsite for the night.
Claiming the space.
Which was actually a relief for our backpacker. He immediately said, "Oh, great, well, I'm meeting a friend at the next campsite up the trail, gotta go," and just packed up and left as quickly as possible.
Good thinking. Create distance.
He said the man had this creepy, sort of ingenuous smile the whole time, but his face looked flat, like the smile didn't reach his eyes.
That disconnect is often noted in unsettling encounters. The mask doesn't quite fit.
So the backpacker gets to his actual intended campsite, but he's cautious now. He decides to wait a bit before setting up his tent, just hangs back and observes.
Smart, listening to his gut.
Not even 10 minutes later, same crunching footsteps coming up the trail. It's the man again.
Right.
With that same stupid, creepy smile, as the backpacker called it.
He followed him.
Looks like it. The backpacker, understandably freaked out now, directly asks him, "Are you following me?"
Good question. Direct confrontation.
And the man, with that same creepy smile, just sort of jokingly replies, "Yeah, I'm following you."
That's not a joke. That's confirmation and intimidation. Possibly gaslighting? Making the victim doubt if it's serious.
Exactly. The backpacker didn't wait for clarification. He grabbed his bag immediately and started walking back the way he came. Past the previous campsite where the man had first approached him with the food. He was exhausted, but just kept going.
Evade and escape. Good call again.
He finally ducked off the trail, went maybe 200, 300 feet into the woods where he couldn't be easily seen from the path. He quickly and quietly set up his tent, kept almost everything packed inside his backpack just in case. And surprisingly, he said he fell asleep almost instantly.
Exhaustion, maybe. Or just the body shutting down from stress.
Could be. But then, middle of the night, his eyes just shoot open. He hears it. Footsteps, crunching leaves right near the trail he'd come from.
Oh man, he was being hunted.
Sounds like it. The footsteps got closer to where he might have camped on the trail, paused, and then started to fade further down the path. The man was searching for him, but because he'd moved off trail, he missed him.
Wow. That move off the trail likely saved him from another confrontation, or worse.
Absolutely. He waited until the first light of sunrise, then packed up the rest of his gear in seconds and just booked it straight back to his car. Never saw the man again.
Thank goodness. But that persistence, the open food, the fake joke, the actual following, it's a disturbing pattern of behavior.
He said he keeps thinking about that protein bar and what might have happened if he hadn't trusted his instincts at each step.
Yeah. So if we try to, connect these stories, pull out the threads.
What sounds out to you?
Well, across all three, the isolation of the wilderness is key, isn't it? It doesn't just make you vulnerable, it amplifies the psychological impact of the threat. It allows for this kind of tailored manipulation.
Right, it's not just random violence, it feels like a game in each case.
Exactly. These encounters often involve elements of psychological control, of testing boundaries, of playing with the victim, rather than just an immediate physical assault. There's a patience there, a persistence that's deeply unsettling.
So what's the big takeaway for people listening? What does this all mean for us?
I think it's a powerful reminder, maybe the most powerful one, to trust your gut. That intuition, that feeling of wrongness, even if you can't logically explain it right away.
Like the music or the man coming back?
Precisely. That feeling is a primal survival mechanism. These stories show people listening to it and it making a critical difference. Don't dismiss it.
Yeah, that's huge.
And it also really highlights the value of what we might call adaptive preparedness. It's not just about having pepper spray, though that helps. It's about mental readiness.
Being ready to change your plans.
Yes. Being ready to disengage, to run, to abandon your gear if you have to. Knowing when the situation has shifted from weird to dangerous and acting decisively. These aren't just scary stories. They're lessons learned the hard way.
They really are. They feel like case studies in human resilience, facing something. Well, inexplicable sometimes, but definitely deliberate and menacing. And that question lingers, doesn't it?
What were their real intentions?
Yeah. We might never know the answer for any of these encounters. And maybe that not knowing is the most unsettling part of it all. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into these unsettling accounts today. We hope listening to these has given you more than just chills.
Yeah, hopefully some real insights into fear, instinct, and how people react under extreme pressure in the wild.
It definitely leaves you thinking.
It does. And maybe an important question for you, the listener, to consider is, how much do you really rely on your own intuition when things feel off? And maybe after hearing these stories, are there steps you might think about differently before your next trip out? Or even just in navigating uncomfortable situations generally?
Good questions to ponder. Thank you so much for joining us on this exploration today. We really appreciate you taking the time to listen. Until next time, stay safe out there and keep curious.